We live in a strange moment in history. In less than 3 years since ChatGPT dropped, AI has gone from novelty to necessity. Since then, the world has shifted quite dramatically, and new iterations of these tools are constantly being released. But in the world of AI, we didn't evolve, we actually accelerated. And in the chaos, it's kind of hard to find balance when there's just so much noise out there. Every week there's a new tool, a new headline, or a new promise that this AI tool is going to change everything. And if you're like me, you probably felt the pressure to keep up, to learn more, or to just do things faster or risk falling behind. But maybe what we need isn't more noise, it's actually clarity. In this video, I'll walk you through a simple path to actually use AI, whether you're building a business, launching a brand, or just trying to become the most efficient version of yourself. All right, without further ado, let's get started here. So I essentially created this AI creator map sort of as a visual guide to really help us understand the sort of paths here that you could essentially take. But let's break this down. So these 5 main paths, depending on your goals, think of it as a sort of like choose your own adventure. Like, this map isn't about doing everything, it's about starting somewhere that aligns with you right now. And this is also like, I'm not trying to be like super technical about it, like rather like how AI can actually be useful for everyday things in both your personal and professional lives. So no matter if you're just using ChatGPT or if you don't have really an understanding when it comes to prompting, I'm hoping that this video could definitely help you out in sort of like giving some clarity and shedding some light, because it could be overwhelming with all the noise that's going around with especially when it comes to AI. So at the center is what you have, your LLM. And what that stands for is your large language model. And I'm sure you guys have already heard of a few. If you're brand new to AI, don't worry about the technical side or memorizing all these names. But for the average creator or business owner, the brand isn't as important. It's actually how you use these large language models. So you could think of it as a sort of engine in a car, whether you're driving a Toyota or a Honda. It doesn't matter if your goal is just to drive. What matters is the roads you take and where you're going. In our case, these roads are different creative paths around the diagram, and each one shows a way you can use this AI brain to create, automate, and grow your work. And something I should also say is that these paths, like the brand builder, once you start creating content with AI and once you start automating your own business with AI, each one of these paths, they're not isolated, which means they overlap, and skills and systems you build in one area will often bleed into another. So for instance, if you start creating content with AI, meaning you start using things to sort of help automate that process, whether it's scripting or whether it's using some video tools to help you with your content creation, you're going to see how later down the line, once you get a little bit more experience with that, you're going to see how easy and how really impactful this stuff could be. So really exciting stuff here. And this is like when AI starts feeling like a tool and starts becoming part of how you think, create, and operate. If you have an idea but no logo, no colors, and no clue where to start when it comes to your own brand, I would say this is your first stop. You're starting something new, either freelance work, a side hustle, a passion project, and need help with your sort of visual and verbal identity, then I would definitely recommend sort of like seeing how AI could benefit you. And now, like Canva, and there's tools like Looka, that really help you, generate logos, color palettes, and overall brand kits. So again, I want to remind you guys that a lot of these tools, they are powered by large language models. So what they've done is essentially create a software that makes it so easy for the user to sort of just either upload a photo or tell them a little bit about their business, and then it sort of generates these like logo files, like I said, a brand kit. So this helps with overall concepting. You could even start gathering a mood board. You don't have to heavily rely on AI, but it's definitely a good way to start ideating and start concepting what your brand is. And at the end of the day, people buy off of emotion. The main thing is making sure that you're being authentic to your own brand, to your own visual identity, and at the end of the day, you're using these tools to really just help you be more efficient with that process. Okay, so let's say you go to Looka, or let's say you go to Canva, you generate some logos, you generate some sort of banner images for your YouTube or whatever the case might be, but you start gathering some assets. Well, let's say you're ready to go build some content, right? Essentially, the content creator route is you want to grow your audience or business through content, but maybe you feel stuck with ideas or editing. Maybe you don't have a big budget for video production or a team. These types of tools become super handy. So you start scripting your videos with AI. And I actually put together a little deck here that I go with through with my clients whenever we start going through their overall assets and content, and start pitching to them, okay, like, these are the sort of ads or the campaigns or the angles that we could start, you know, generating for you. But essentially is the way you prompt ChatGPT in order to make content that really or videos that drive sales like ads. Step one is ideating the overall concept and angle with the goal to turn your product or your service into customer pain points and turn that into a really engaging script. So a prompt like that would look like: generate an ad script for a product targeting this audience, whatever your audience might be. Use problem agitation solution, CTA, which is the framework that a lot of big agencies use for their own clients. And then keep the tone casual and emotionally driven. Obviously, this could change depending on the brand. Let's say, for instance, it looks something like this. So this is for a SaaS product or a business that I'm building on the side. What it does is it allows you to sort of collect better testimonials by sending AI powered forms to your clients and customers. So people could refine their feedback with AI, and essentially the business gets better testimonials. And then what they could do is take those testimonials and then turn them into social posts. So the example given here is: generate an ad script for Testafolio, which is the name of my brand, targeting business owners and coaches. The problem is that we all hate asking for testimonials, or clients leave bland feedback that doesn't convert. The agitation is losing sales, no trust, competitors with less skills getting more sales. And the solution is, of course, our product that collects your testimonials, uses AI to refine them into a polished social proof, and showcases everything in one shareable portfolio. And then, of course, you have your call to action. So actually, why don't we do this live and let's see what it does. As you can see here, ChatGPT has generated us a sort of draft of the script, and we could obviously copy this into a Google Doc or a sort of Notion page and start editing from there. But it gives us a hook. It goes through this sort of framework that a lot of big ad agencies use for their own clients. You take that script and then you kind of build upon it. You start ideating in visuals, and that leads us to our next branch, which is the video generation tools. Really, where a lot of people get overwhelmed just because there's just so many tools that are popping out like almost every other day. Essentially what they do is the same thing. Right now, I think there's VO3, which is seems to be the one that's the best for video and audio output. And each tool has a different use case, and obviously they have their pros and cons. So I would definitely recommend doing your own research. But there's some tools that are just specifically made for like talking head UGC, which is like what ArcAds and Synthesia are for. And there's a bunch of other tools like Make UGC. And basically what they do is they create your own AI avatars. So you could start like creating content or create your own avatar. And then, if you don't want to be on camera, is you could start like kind of feeding it in terms of like scripts and all that stuff. And all you have to do is basically some basic editing, or you could even outsource that too. And then start having a cadence when it comes to posting your content. There are YouTube creators right now that are currently using these tools to help sort of assemble their own scenes and really like execute their own narrative. And I see that there's people even now creating ads and really profiting off of them. So the crazy thing is that you don't have to pay $600, $700 anymore for a big production shoot, where you could just use these AI tools to really execute what you're really going for. And this stuff is just getting better every day. So by the next year, you're going to be seeing like this become more prominent in bigger industries. I mean, it already is. So how you prompt your scenes when it comes to like these video gen tools is you always want to make sure that you include, the subject, what are you shooting? what's the mood, what's the setting, what's the framing of it. So I want you to think like a director when it comes to creating these scenes, and then it just makes it easier when you're putting these things together. So once you start getting comfortable with those video gen tools, like I said, there's so many of them, but I would just recommend, learning about a few and then picking one that you feel the most comfortable with. And right now, VO3 and it looks like Nano Banana seem to be the ones leading the charge there. And of course, once you start creating content, you're going to want to be repurposing that content. So, like, let's say you have a video or an image that performs really well on Instagram or on TikTok. You might want to repurpose that for a YouTube short, or maybe you could turn that into a long form video. And there's a bunch of these tools that, again, are AI powered that, essentially help you execute that. So, and you always want to make sure that you're doing the most to get the most reach you can. If you want to get more clients and more sales, you need to be more exposed to different markets, and these tools essentially help you with that. Of course, you have AI captions and shorts. So I would recommend learning about simple tools like CapCut that allows you to generate your captions. And even Adobe Premiere does this too, but you essentially just take your video, you put auto captions, and it generates a bunch of cool captions for you in different styles. So let's go into the path below here, which is the self-developer. What this is if you want to use AI to level up your skills, your habits, your mindset, and honestly, this could be your personal growth track. This is definitely a route that you could choose if you're focused on improving your skills, your habits, and your mindset. So you could use AI for journaling and reflection, which is really good to stimulate your own ideas. I do this myself. So here's a Notion I guess page that's a little bit private, but I wanted to share this as a use case to you guys because I like to journal, and whether if it's a dream or something personal that's going on in my life, and I just write about this sort of dream I had, and then what I do is I take that, I have an analysis in terms of like chat gpt analyzing what might be the emotions or the sort of like overall message within that. So I really like to understand the sort of subconscious and the overall psyche of what's going on in my life, because then that really helps me become conscious when it comes to work, when it comes to my own relationships. So I actually created some prompts that could help you on your personal learning path. So, by the way, this is all included in the free guide. So, if you are curious to dive even deeper, go ahead and click the link below. Essentially, you have different prompts for like mindset and reflection, your habit formation, your learning, your skill, health, and wellness. So, just to go through a few here, like you could prompt ChatGPT to like act as your life coach. Ask me 3 reflective questions to help me understand why I've been feeling your emotion lately, or give me 5 journaling prompts to reflect on my goals for the next time frame. And then, I think even when it comes to habit formation, where this could be a really powerful way for you to learn new skills. You could even prompt it, design a, let's say, 5-week habit plan to improve my marketing and sales based on the book 4-Hour Work Week or something like that, right? So I'm not sure if that's a good example of a book, but you kind of get the idea. So these are just different prompts to really help you stimulate your mind to get orientated more towards growth. And like I said, I think this stuff could be really, really powerful when it comes to using it the right way. If you guys are finding some hidden gems or hidden nuggets here and getting some value out of this video, I'll definitely encourage you guys to like this video. That way you could come back to it in case you missed something or just want to revisit some of these paths here. Let's say now that you sort of have your brand, you start creating some content with AI, or at least you use some of these tools to help you with your content creation process. Let's now start going into the Business Automator, because this is where you could like 5x your own business. The reason why you would probably want to go this path is if you're overwhelmed by repetitive tasks and want more time to focus on important work. Or let's say you have a small business or side hustle and want to run it smoother without hiring a virtual assistant. For the most people, that means automating the small but constant tasks that pretty much eat up at your day. So think about like, writing and scheduling social media posts, drafting client emails or proposals, organizing and summarizing meeting notes, researching competitors or market trends, setting up an AI assistant that replies to common customer questions, automating lead follow-ups with emails and just appointment reminders. So when it comes to really like the automation stuff, even though this stuff is a bit more advanced, I would say now more than ever, it's really easy to learn a tool like N8N and really become professional with it like within a few days. I mean, I did it myself. I started automating some content creation stuff that I do for clients when it comes to generating my own ads. And I mean, this stuff is really powerful and it doesn't cost a lot to really like, get your foot in the door. So I would say the best place to start is maybe learning a tool like N8N. These tools are accelerating really fast. And I think like within the next 12 months to 24 months, like you could probably automate, your whole business with a simple prompt. I definitely would recommend right now like joining a community or Reddit forums to start getting familiar with like, AI automation, if this is something that intrigues you. And if you're tired of repetitive tasks and want AI to handle the busy work, so you could focus on the real work, this is definitely the path that you could take. Now, like this moves on to path number 5, which is the digital architect. This path is once you become comfortable using AI tools and now want to design, build, and launch digital assets, products, or systems that live online and keep working for you, whether that's a tool, a template, or a fully automated service. You're starting getting into like the vibe marketing or the vibe coding area, which you've probably seen a few people like build apps without a lot of coding experience, but it's a really good way to strain test ideas, create MVP systems, sort of like start getting actionable feedback. I use tools like Gamma. Gamma helps you create like presentations, free guides, and all through with AI. And Gamma is a really cool website and resource to really help you either create a slide deck for like a client, a portfolio, or even your own marketing strategy. And it's also really good for creating free guides. So you could create an ebook or an opt-in here and then launch that within your sites. A reason why you would want to go this path is you want to create something that lasts instead of only producing one-off content. You like problem solving and building systems that others can use. You're curious about combining AI with no code tools to make something tangible, and you feel comfortable using AI and want to build assets that could generate income or deliver value automatically. So going back to the digital architect, you could use no code AI apps like Bubble, Cursor, or Lovable. And people are making six figures. And if you have something useful in mind that combines something you're relatively interested in while providing value to someone, you could essentially build something really amazing with these no code tools. This also comes back to these tools overlapping one another, because there's automation that can be involved in this. Let's say you build a product with a developer and now you want to start marketing it. You can use these workflows we discussed earlier to have an advantage of your competitors that aren't using AI. So another use case could be like, landing pages and funnels. You could use AI to generate copy, to design mockups, launch sales pages in Framer or Webflow. You could build digital templates like I discussed, and then sell those templates. You could create interactive experiences, build AI powered quizzes, learning journeys, and really track all of this stuff down so you really know who you're talking to. And once you have a core understanding of who your target audience is, it just makes things a lot more easier when you're creating content, when you're sort of like building your brand messaging and all that stuff. So it all comes down to who you are as a person, what value are you creating, and at the end of the day, how are these tools helping you become more efficient in your own workflow. So it's not necessarily replacing it, but it's empowering you to sort of do more and to focus on the things that matter. The truth is, none of these paths exist in isolation. The skills you build in one will feed the others. The brand you create will need marketing. the content you make will benefit from automation, and the systems you design will shape not just your business, but how you live day to day. So AI could be a little bit overwhelming, but if you start kind of getting an idea in terms of like the different paths you could take and what you could learn from them, you're going to start seeing that a lot of this stuff overlaps. And at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be complicated. Really, just find what will work for you and for your own business, what would make things easier, and spend a few days or even a few weeks learning that tool or whatever you're using AI for. When I started using ChatGPT, I know I was like most people just using it for like, mundane things, not necessarily like for business or all and everything. But when you start playing around with it, new ideas will start popping up. And then that's what it's great for, like having it as an ideation partner. When ideas start to pop up, you want to track everything down, like I said, either in a Google Doc or a Notion page. And then you start kind of like having like, okay, like this would be kind of cool for like, a video. And then you start ideating even further, you start scripting that. And then once you start doing that, you start kind of thinking like, okay, well, how would like what can I do with this video? What's the main purpose like for that? Is this going to be leading to a website? Is this going to be like, at the end of the day, am I creating content just to grow my audience? And if so, how can I grow it even further? What if I start automating my social media posts? Like, how can I learn how to do that? So you learn one path, you execute in that path, you start kind of like learning a more advanced path, and next thing you're just becoming this content machine. There's a lot of stuff here that could really help small businesses, creators. But that's it for today. I really enjoy walking through this stuff. I think there's a lot of powerful use cases here that a person could really extract from it. And if you like the video, go ahead and like and subscribe, because I'm hoping to continue providing value here and more videos coming your way. So peace out, guys.